Hey everyone. This is my first big video project and I wanted to start off with a bang. The type of video I've wanted to make for a while. I was inspired by Werewin's top 50 videos mainly, which I highly recommend you to check out. Now some of you might also be wondering why I would make a top 50 Insanes first and not like a top 50 Extremes. In short, I think Extreme Demons are definitely oversaturated in this community and I want to give more love to some lesser known levels, many of which hold a special place in my heart. I definitely want to keep making level reviews and videos after this, and I'll probably release a top 50 Extreme Demons later this year, but we'll see. Also, even though this is my first video, I'd like to announce that I'm going to be fundraising for the next few months. I'm raising money for the Four Diamonds Association in celebration of my high school's mini-thon. I'll put more information in the description about it and a link to donate, but if any of you could, it would make a huge impact, even a few dollars. I'll keep reminding about it in future videos. But now, without further ado, here are the top 50 greatest insane demons in Geometry Dash. Although it's at the bottom, I'd say Alika is one of the more creative levels on this list. The level juggles so many ideas throughout its 5-minute length, yet I don't think they ever feel drawn out. I especially found the duels around the middle of the level to be very fluent and unique. Especially the part where you need to microclick, otherwise you'll die. That's just a really cool concept that I've never seen done before. Unfortunately, the lack of substantial visuals kept me from placing this level any higher. Not sure if this is an unpopular opinion, but I've never liked High all that much. I've always considered this one of Kermal's weaker levels. I've never been a fan of this level's gameplay, especially the blind minicube near the beginning, which I've never been able to consistently pull off. So yeah, this level is very awkward to play, but it still is up here for a reason. This level is still extremely unique and charming, and Kermal's strange design and structuring style in tandem with this bombastic song is a treat to watch even if it isn't to play. Kid Smoke is a pretty mischievous level, just like the little devil dude featured in it. You are constantly being tricked by disappearing blocks and fake walls, and the effects to display these tricks are pretty well done. This level definitely has a lot of raw energy to it, yet I think the health theming was done perfectly, although the gameplay is a bit rough at points. Re-entry would have scored much higher in this list, but the first cube and ship parts are, well, they're pretty insufferable, I can't lie. The quick green orb clicks after holding into a jump are really finicky and very precise, and I can say the same about the ship part that follows. Luckily, the rest of the level is much more forgiving and also more enjoyable. This level soars with its atmosphere, which is very dreamlike, beginning by flying through what I assume to be space, with floating asteroids, to then fall back down to very mystical Earth. The ending robot is especially magical, as the obstacles around you quickly appear to this mystical section of the song. It's pretty enchanting overall. Feral is almost the polar opposite to Re-entry. While that level was dreamlike, Feral is very gritty and grounded, with choppy effects and dark colors. The level is pretty short, but most of it is enjoyable. I especially like the cube at the end when the entire level is collapsing around it, and you have to puzzle your way around it. My one complaint is that the wave part with the intruding ball transitions is extremely inconsistent and frustrating, but everything else is pretty good. Warning for those who care, the following level is no longer an insane demon. It got changed, but too far into the creation process of making this video, so I honestly was just too lazy to revert it. If it were still an insane demon, this is where I would place it. Just ignore it as is. I think I can count Mastermind as being a memory level, which isn't as much of a detriment to me as it is to others. I don't hate memory levels. In fact, I find most of them more fascinating than ordinary levels. And this definitely won't be the finding memory level on my list. Where Mastermind falls flat is in the fact that I don't think that Hein's gameplay style matches well with memory. His gameplay is mainly skill-based with tight waves and ships, and it doesn't vibe well when these tight jumps are made invisible or turned into tricks. Memory should be generally more forgiving than your average level, but Mastermind is oddly punishing in that regard. The level also takes on a much more dull color palette when compared to Hein's other works. Blast Furnace is an extra long 2.0 level, and back when it came out I had found it pretty amazing and unlike any level I had seen at the time. Luckily the level has aged pretty well. The gameplay is fun and the deco has a rough factory design to it. I especially have always liked the level's design matching with the song, whether that be the very beginning of the level or the take a break part before the final boss. These parts kinda go hard, and I still think this after so much time has passed since the level's release. Pretty impressive indeed. Yet another old level, but this one dates back even further. Unfortunately, Horntail Cave is definitely starting to show its age. The design is extremely repetitive, using only black structuring and these crystal blocks throughout the entire level. But the charm is definitely still intact, and even with such rudimentary tools at their disposal, Chaos was able to execute a lot of charm and mystique. However, I can't lie that the song does a lot of heavy lifting in that department. Nonsense World is a pretty goofy level. It is unambiguously a joke level, but it is also very competently put together, and these are the type of joke levels I love. It's one thing to take a few hours to throw together a simple level of jokes scattered about it, but it's another thing to commit to the bit and build a well-designed level based around unrelated jokes. I should mention that I don't really understand the jokes within this level, but it's always funny when a random demon face appears on screen with some random assortment of words. I guess it's just quirky. Firewall is a step up from Mastermind in my opinion, as it embraces Hein's decoration and gameplay style much more faithfully without being tied to a gimmick like Memory. Firewall is much more colorful with a purple color palette, and although this is a 2.0 level, it still feels like a 1.9 level with 2.0 blocks added on. Gameplay is also an improvement, leaning in on more classic Heinz gameplay, yet the waves are much harder than any other part. Firewall at many times is just too hard for its own good. I also don't think this is Hein's strongest level either. It feels like a weaker version of another one of his levels, Dance Massacre, which I think improves in both gameplay and design while also being more accessible. It's only a hard demon. Breadboard is reminiscent of Light Brights if you ever played with those when you were a kid. And this is not a sponsor, by the way. I just find it very fun flying through these cute drawings of stickmen and dragons that seem to be created by a child. Really brings me back to the good old days. However, this was also one evil child for making the ship gameplay so precise. Veil is another level that I don't think was trying to be a memory level, and I think it falls under this category anyways. However, this level also follows another gimmick. You only play as the ball for the whole level, and I think it utilizes this gimmick nicely. The way you float through the level as the background and foreground flash all kinds of colors is very mesmerizing and almost hypnotic. However, as the level goes on, the memory becomes increasingly more apparent, and you have to start memorizing certain click patterns rather than puzzling your way through the level, which is honestly not as fun. Still a cool, unique level that also happened to be my 100th demon. I had originally placed the precursor to this level, Deep Swim, on this list, but it eventually got pushed off to make room for other levels. All in all, Shallow Dive improves on that level a lot. The colors are much clearer and poignant, and the neon design remains intact without blinding the player with oversaturated effects. However, the wave part in the middle is a massive choke point. Still a great improvement over Deep Swim, which I just found to be much more dull in comparison. Smocks is a level that is built with only 1.9 blocks. The design is extremely clustered, but the level makes up for it by only being in slow speed so the player is not overwhelmed, allowing you to admire the complex decoration. The gameplay is very weird. I can tell that Durian Head tried experimenting with the limited gameplay options he had at his disposal, but a lot of the finished product is either janky or memory based. It's hard to avoid when you only have a few orbs, portals, and game modes to use, but I feel that the level would have benefited from a simpler gameplay style to balance out its clustered design. Latent Blossom LTD is definitely the weirdest level on this list. I've truly never seen a level that looks anything like this, in both the design and the way the level is structured. There is some ethereal vibe surrounding the level that I can't help but connect to old school RPGs in the nature of the text boxes and truncated screens. I'm not really sure what the level is trying to say, and I don't think it is a joke level, so these strange decorations must have some meaning, but I don't have to understand them to at least appreciate their beauty. However, the gameplay is really frustrating, consisting of many fast-paced clicks in succession without break. I really don't like that type of gameplay, and it brought this level down a fair bit. Now this level is a classic. Duelo Maestro is probably one of the most well-known Insane Demons for its usage of the two-player mechanic. And I'm happy to say this level uses two players very well. It starts with a difficult solo part, ensuring not every attempt will reach the drop. But when you do, that is when the level really starts. The first drop is perfectly symmetrical for both players, almost like a warm-up. But after a take-a-break section, you are thrown into a much more difficult duel where each player has different gameplay that could even interfere with each other. I just love how the level builds up this mechanic throughout its runtime, and it's very fun to play. Just make sure you don't play this with someone who throws every time you get to the drop. That can be really frustrating. For this level, I was paying close attention to how it adapted the song, which is very bombastic and frantic, and I think this level fits the song perfectly. Layers sure does have a lot of layers when it comes to the amount of effects in each part, that really amp up the tension and stress of the overall level. This level gives off the feeling of a stress test while not having all that repetitive gameplay until the very end. The duels near the end of the level begin to feel a bit repetitive, but at the same time they are extremely satisfying to pull off. Overall, this level is just really hype, man. Feel is another effect level with vibes opposite to that of Layers. Feel is much more laid back, and the effects present are also much less flashy and a lot more tranquil, almost like they could put you to sleep. Gameplay also is greatly slowed down, and even when the level picks up speed, it never feels like it's moving too fast. Feel is just a very chill level, which is a tough accomplishment for being an insane demon. Klutz is a very pretty looking design level. The level is very colorful, and the intermittent blocks of white make the colors pop even more against a dark background. It almost looks like the level is glitching out with the patches of white and disconnected structure. This level would have placed a lot higher if it weren't for the gameplay. The timings in this level are really hard to see thanks to the complex design and fast speed you're moving at, and you almost have to memorize click patterns rather than visualize what's happening. And that is just not enjoyable at all. The spider especially is a prime example of this. It's just way too hard to track where you're teleported. Shade Dissolver is a cool 1.9 style level by Black. Black has always made some of my favorite gameplay, and it really shines in this level. There are some sections where memory is utilized, yet these parts feel generally forgiving, and once you learn where you need to go, it is simple and satisfying to pull off. This is just a very fun level with a clean 1.9 design that is really reminiscent of old 1.9 levels. Nothing much to complain about. Eden's Blessing. This level is not optimized well, which sounds like a minor complaint, but it's honestly a pretty big issue. The decoration is beautiful and it matches with the angelic song perfectly. And the theming is also extremely consistent, except for the final section, which opts to go for a generic modern design. I don't really like that, but maybe it was Subwoofer's way to atone for his sin of spamming objects in previous parts. I think my computer is fairly advanced, yet running this level was a slog. The lag picks up especially once you reach the graveyard section, which is honestly one of the less clustered parts. The gameplay by itself is pretty fun, but it greatly suffers from lag spikes, bringing the enjoyment of this level down for me. I guess this one is just a computer skill issue. SFW scores this high for its flashy gameplay and effects. This level is really a treat for the eyes with the amount of colors it uses for its effects. However, it is not a treat for the fingers because the gameplay consists of a lot of fast clicking without many breaks. I don't really have much more to say about it. This level was originally placed higher, but I don't think it holds up against many of the other levels that I frankly just like more. Full Moon Paranoid is a very cool name for a very cool level. The designs feel so raw and amateurish while also feeling advanced in its use of movements and colors. It achieves this feeling through the use of a wide array of default geometry blocks, most of which are used in creative ways. I honestly wouldn't be surprised if it used every 2.1 block. It's a level that, although looks cool, doesn't seem to take itself seriously, and it's these paradoxical aspects that really enamor me with the decoration. However, the gameplay is unfortunately not in the same boat. The gameplay is so learny, yet there is no memory used anywhere, which is partly to fault for the unconventional design style the level has going. Nevertheless, a very unique level. Acropolis perfects the feeling of isolation and claustrophobia. The tight corridors and lack of color increase your urgency of wanting to escape this desolate prison. The gameplay is similarly claustrophobic, with tight timings and gaps for you to jump or fly through. I used to hate this level pretty hard for the gameplay. However, I have now come to an acceptance that the gameplay serves to better convey the sense of misery and the feeling of being trapped the level is trying to instill upon the player, and it succeeds in instilling it. I think El Dorado is a slight step up from Acropolis. They both take on gameplay with tight corridors and decoration of dark colors. However, El Dorado has more of a story at play. The beginning is claustrophobic with green vines surrounding you as you wander through the forest, and the level only opens up at the end once you reach the Golden City. This ending really elevates the level, like a true journey to the city of El Dorado, and it definitely is rewarding getting so much open space and color after playing through the beginning, which is pretty tricky to pull off. Well, this level sure is a vibe. Nightlife is an effect level about the night, and the many things that happen. You'll be jumping around bright buildings in one part, and then dancing around a flashing star as neon lights flutter around you in the next. I don't really have much to comment on this level other than that it is very chill and I like the effects a lot. Nuclear outdoes the previous levels by telling a more compelling story that goes hand to hand with amazing, colorful visuals. The level tells the story of a nuclear fallout. As you enter through the factory of the nuke, you watch your visuals and gameplay slowly deteriorate into nothingness. You also get to see the outside of the factory both at the beginning and end of the level. Even in the beginning, there seems to be something amiss, with strange colors pierced against the normal green grass, almost hinting at a previous explosion. However, after the nuke has fallen and you leave the factory, you get to see the world again, and it is completely ravaged and almost unrecognizable. I would say that this is a very underground level that definitely needs more attention. Input Code is a very simple level with a digital coding theme. Again, I don't really have much to say about this level. I just think it looks nice and is fun to play. Sometimes simplicity benefits a level more than complexity. The only complaint I have is that the computer theming could have been developed and expanded more, and honestly, I think this level would fall better under the category of colorful effect level. I wish Rock Wizard would make more levels, but this one is still a great outing. Cloud 9 is another level with flat gameplay, which I said before that I really enjoy. However, this time the decoration was done by Sodaz, and I think he did a fantastic job. The entire level feels like you're flying through the clouds at Mach speed, because most of the level is at 3 or 4 times speed. However, this might come as a detriment to the gameplay, which, like other Vlak levels, does rely on memory, yet I think this memory is never well hidden, which comes to the level's benefit. I also would like to comment that the final parts of this level are truly breathtaking. Once you leave the drop, you are greeted with more technological designs, like you have accessed the jet's central terminal, yet it all fades away by the end, and all that is left is you and the vast horizon, with the sun shining over it. Truly breathtaking indeed. Windy Landscape is, in my eyes, one of the most timeless levels out there. The clustered design of the level honestly gives it its own identity when compared to other 1.9 levels. Because of this, Windy Landscape has aged like fine wine, and I don't think that it will ever become out of date, so to say. The most famous part of this level is without a doubt the drop, and subsequent unique duels. However, I honestly think that these duels are one of the weaker moments in the level, as the designs start feeling blinding and you can't really see where you need to go. I better enjoy the beginning and the end where you can more peacefully take in the vibrant colors and design present within the level. While I still stand behind my compliments to Windy Landscape, I think Colorful Overnight is slightly better overall. It is much more avant-garde and plays around with its mechanics, both visual and gameplay, in much more unique ways. The decoration is much more striking in this level, choosing more powerful colors, and even switching up the entire design of the level in some parts, such as in the black and white part near the beginning. The gameplay also takes an untraditional approach, utilizing the 1.9 gameplay features in much stranger ways. Some of these ways don't exactly work for me, and I prefer the gameplay in Windy Landscape more, however. This level especially has some choke points that can really mess up the flow of a playthrough. However, like Windy Landscape, I consider this level to be utterly timeless. I think that Mindbreaker is how you do memory right. For one, it looks very pretty, and the team behind it did a great job making every part feel distinct, yet also cohesive. I think what I love so much about this level is that it doesn't hide anything from you. Like I've said before, I don't like memory gameplay that doesn't make sense. gameplay that has you hitting invisible orbs or jumping through structures that seem enclosed. Other than Metalface's part, Mindbreaker has none of that. Your solutions to each problem are found by thinking of how you can use the gameplay presented to you in creative ways, like skipping orbs or falling off a platform instead of jumping. It's these small differences that lead to such a massive change in results when playing the level. I guess in that sense, learning this level is more like solving a puzzle rather than memorizing nonsensical gameplay patterns, and I think that's where memory really shines. Okay, so I'm gonna come clean. I originally didn't add Ultrasonic to the list because I honestly forgot that it existed. I had added and still have Supersonic, and we'll get to that later. I guess that's because Ultrasonic doesn't stick out as much to me as Supersonic does. However, that's not to say Ultrasonic is bad, far from it in fact. Ultrasonic definitely feels like a much more cohesive level overall, with each part having a similar design and color scheme, yet slightly varying in their execution. You can compare, for example, the tight and closed off part of Evasion with Jazer's very flashy and open part near the end. Jazer's part is definitely the highlight of the level, having the player slow down after so much fast-paced gameplay, yet keeping the intensity up by flashing colors all around the player, and then being thrown into Sumzar's wave as a final stress test. It's an amazing ending that truly tests the player on how far they've come throughout the level. The main appeal of Tendo is definitely its gameplay. The level plays so fluid even while going 3 times speed with a frantic song playing. It's truly satisfying to pull off all the in-sync gameplay in the drop, especially the first wave, which you are literally thrown into. That specific transition is one of my favorite parts of the level. The only complaint I have is I wish the level would switch up colors more often because the red becomes almost stained to the level by then. What brings Luminescence ahead of Tendo for me is its vibes. The level, in tandem with the great Silent Room song, entrances the player with flashing lights and sounds that are utterly mesmerizing. The designs also do not overstay their welcome. The constant flipping of structure and effect styles throughout the beginning keep the level feeling fresh, and once the drop hits, the player begins floating through moving blocks and lights that are flying around the player, and it culminates in an amazing color switch from darker colors to a white background with shades of green and yellow piercing through. The level ends with an amazing stress test ship and minicube that is almost memory-like in nature. You have to remember where and when to jump, otherwise you'll die. It is honestly a brutal ending, and I remember feeling very stressed getting to that point, and feeling even more relieved to finally best the challenge that the ending presents. Weaves of Origin is another level that executes the memory gimmick exceptionally well. However, it also seems to go against what I've previously said makes memory gameplay good. It has creative but also vague designs that have unspecified gameplay implications, and there's so much going on that you often feel overwhelmed by the amount of options you have to solve each section. Yet I think this overwhelmed style of design is what I love so much about this level. Like Mindbreaker, this level becomes less of memorization and more like a puzzle that you need to solve, and in each part there's so many different ways you can go about tackling it. I just find it extremely satisfying as you weave your way through the intricate designs through a path you created from your own trial and error. That's just super cool, man. The End is Xylonox's last level, and I'd say it's one of his best. I love how the cold, snowy theme reflects the melancholic and often distraught song. I'd imagine Xylonox was very sad to leave this community, and this is definitely his way of reflecting. The two standout parts for me are definitely the first and last drops, where we see chilling imagery and beautiful art of weeping souls for the former, and some fantastic dual gameplay in the latter. However, I think I need to mention the ending, because that definitely dragged the level down a few spots. I'm not joking when I say that the final ship part is the biggest difficulty spike I have ever experienced in a level. It's kind of ironic that the hardest part of the end is the ending, however, this is true in most realistic cases. The hardest part of any journey is finishing it, and I'm sure this is how Xylonox felt when leaving the community. Xylonox will always be remembered in this community for amazing levels like this, however. Ultimo Universo is the most recent Nacho 21 level, but correct me if I'm wrong, but I think this is an older level that Nacho has more recently finished and released. As the name might suggest, it's a space-themed level, and it uses the most of this theme. Throughout the level, you fly through many different stars and galaxies and explore other planets. You truly explore the full extent of this universe illustrated with beautiful yet simple art. I will say the boss at the end of the level feels a bit out of place, but I don't really have anything else bad to say about it. What makes Dark Travel so captivating is its charm. There are so many little details within this level that give it so much personality, and they always stick out to me when I play the level. There's little monster guys that sit in the spike sludge, this demon face guy that sits in the background of the factory part, this little worm dude, and I also like how Jonathan signed his name into the constellations of the space part. You can tell he had a fun time building this. It sucks that a lot of these little details were ironed out in Dark Odyssey, but at least that doesn't tarnish this level at all. I personally prefer Supersonic to Ultrasonic because I feel that the level is much more unique. The best part of this level is most definitely Daddy Crows. This part, along with the song, feels like you're charging up and getting ready to blast forward at supersonic speed, and that's exactly what you do. After this part, the level shoots you into some fast-paced duels and waves that are really satisfying to pull off, and this speed remains until the level ends. Each part in the level feels entirely distinct in gameplay and style, without having the level feel inconsistent, because they are all connected by the same gimmick of fast speed. I can understand why Ultrasonic might be preferred for being a more cohesive experience overall, but I personally prefer this level for the unique experiences each part gives and how they culminate into a unique medley of gameplay and design. Lost Myself is the first 2.2 level to really captivate me with its use of the new features. The entire level takes place in one large square border that the player repeatedly moves across, and this gimmick is well developed throughout the level. I especially love the duel section where the wave stays trapped in the middle while the player outside flips from top to bottom. I would also like to comment on how well the name fits the level. This level really does give the sense of losing oneself. The atmosphere is very dark, almost like you're deep underwater, with mysterious structures and objects moving in the background, until the level brightens up, shining like you're flying through a galaxy out of this world, until you fall back down to a dark, finishing section. The gameplay also reflects this. By having the player repeatedly moving side to side across the screen, the player is sent into confusion, not knowing where they will show up next once they reach the other side. It's a truly captivating experience overall. Stalemate pulls off an incredible feat in that it is one of the most threatening levels I have ever played, yet it is not red and isn't a top extreme demon. Yeah, I feel like a lot of extreme demons have lost their charm due to the overabundance of attention towards top levels and how hard they are. But a level doesn't need to be a top 20 for me to feel intimidated by it, and Stalemate does just that. You honestly wouldn't think that when looking at the level, because many parts have a funhouse vibe when it comes to the colors, yet I think that's what makes them so threatening. The structures being so colorful make them pop, and it makes it really obvious to the player how tight these gaps really are. The song especially adds an extra layer of fear to the level's vibe. My favorite parts are the dark parts where the level flashes these colorful blocks at you, yet it also flashes a lot of trick blocks too. This part reminds me of a sort of maze of mirrors and is a great way to add tension to the player, especially at the end of the level. The Place is a white and black factory themed level that has a cool theme going on. The level starts outside, but quickly machines and robots engulf you, as you have to find a way to escape the factory. Eventually smoke will start covering your screen as you have to memorize click patterns as they repeat, getting harder to see each time. The ending uses this gimmick especially well, almost as if the factory is a living, sentient being that doesn't want you to escape. Not much more to say about this level, the theming is immaculate and the gameplay serves the level well enough. Beneath the Surface takes a step up when it comes to atmosphere and theming. I think I prefer this to The Place because of the much more vibrant world featured in Beneath the Surface. However, this level is not all bright colors and sunshine. In fact, much of it is shrouded in mystery as you explore ancient ruins and abandoned towns as you sink deep into the depths. The environments in this level are so well realized, and Macrease always does a great job of creating depth in his worlds. There's a sense that something is always hiding right around the corner, and it might be responsible for all this ruin. Yet you finally see in the end that the true menace is the ocean itself, ripping up waves that destroy everything in their paths. This level fully embraces that nature is the most powerful force out there, and I have to agree with it. Okay, so I had considered moving this level lower, but you know what? This is my list and I can put any level wherever I want. Violet Glint. I've placed this level so high because I find this to be a near perfect design level. The gameplay is so fluent and the design is in a similar vein, constantly switching designs to keep things fresh. The level is also incredibly in sync with the song, whether it be with the colorful effects, the clean transitions, or the gameplay itself. The level is extremely satisfying to play. And the level also emanates so much love and energy. I have nothing bad to say about this level, and it's always been one of my favorites. What can I say, man? Next up is Auroral Bloom. Loltad knocked it out of the park with the theming here. The best word I could use to describe it would be fantastical. This level just feels magical to play. The beginning and the first drop are enchanting with their effects and designs, but once you hit the second drop, the level really picks up steam by throwing the player into a fairy-like forest with strange creatures all around. And the level ends in another part of this forest, where everything is mushrooms. I love how Loltad's design style of using more simple objects makes the theming and the moments when he does use art or effects really stick out. Truly a magical level, and dare I say one of Loltad's best works. He recently released another Insane Demon, Peaks and Shrieks, which is themed more directly to how I describe this level, like a fairy tale. However, I don't find myself as enamored with that level as I do with Auroral Bloom. Likely because it feels too clustered when compared to this level's more simple, open style. I think F times 6 is one of my favorite traditional style levels out there. The level has no fancy bells or whistles, it's just a simple black level with some of his strongest gameplay to boot. This level does follow one gimmick, as you can see, in that the entire level is built with shades of white and black, hence the name F times 6, which is the hexadecimal color code for white. While I wouldn't define this as a unique gimmick, it does help the level shine in that you are completely drawn in by the designs, gameplay, and song, and not by any fancy movements or effects. And said aspects of the level are near perfect. The song especially is heightened in this level, making the level feel much more atmospheric and ethereal than it would with any other song. The level simply perfects all that it does without making any grand innovations. And sometimes, that's all a level needs to do to be amazing. In third place, we have Crossroads. Now, I feel like I should start by addressing the elephant in the room, that being the gameplay. I'm sure it's hard for you to tell if it's good or bad because the gimmick of this level is that the gameplay is entirely invisible. You'd think that would give for an insufferable playing experience akin to levels like Invisible Deadlocked. However, Crossroads overcomes this issue by choreographing every part to either a beat in the song or a visual detail in the background. Crossroads also conveys an important message, that we are not always sure of where to go in life next, and what steps we need to take to achieve our goals. Yet sometimes it's best to trust our instincts and judgment to take the next steps forward. The trains and subsequent crossroads symbolize this confusion, while the invisible gameplay synced to the song symbolizes this trust that you should have in your own intuition. The only complaint I have for this level is that the final cube section is not entirely in sync with the music, and is pretty frustrating to play. Next, in second place, we have Lit Fuse. Whenever I think of Kemal, this is the level I picture, and for good reason. I think Lit Fuse is one of his best works. The vibrant colors make this level pop visually in unison with Kemal's unique structure. The one aspect this level masters is its progression. The level begins dark and slow as the colors slowly start popping onto the screen. As you progress through the beginning, the effects become more and more vibrant, and once you reach the ship, you are fully engulfed in effects and colors, as the level charges up more and more energy toward the drop. And said drop is where the level fully picks up speed and energy in its gameplay and effects. There's so much energy and love that you feel while playing, it truly does feel like a fuse exploding in your face, but obviously in a good way. And finally, in first place, and I'm just gonna say it, this might be one of, if not, my favorite level in the game. It's Comatose. I was honestly hesitant to make this video because of this level specifically, since I don't think I can do it justice in describing why I love it so much, but I'll try. I would describe this as a melancholic exploration of the experience of death. I think this because of the repeated message in the level of go to sleep, and the usage of a dark blue ethereal atmosphere. After the level builds up energy and states that it shall align to you, as some creature entraps you, the level begins to decay, and you are treated with a part where your swing copter moves up and down like a heart rate monitor. Now, I hopefully will not die anytime soon and have no intentions of it, yet I still find this an interesting and thought-provoking topic to explore. How does it really feel living out the last moments of your life? And how will it feel finally setting down into the endless sleep for whatever lies ahead? I think this level respects said topic with a sense of gravity and seriousness. And that's not even to mention how the level's unique designs and effects make it feel like a moving art piece you'd view at a museum. I've truly never seen any level built like this, and luckily, its use of 2.2 mechanics and effects are subtle, and don't overwhelm the player. I just can't think of any level that can or will ever match up to Comatose in scale or in the meaning I derive from it. It's a special type of level that sticks with me long after I first play it, for reasons beyond just enjoying playing the level. So there it was, my top 50. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I look forward to making more in the future. Especially a top 50 Extreme Demons video, which I'll start working on after this. Not sure if I'll do any more after that, at least any big reviews that is, but we'll see. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you later.